I think it's
watching. What really killed it for me was watching how smart Francona used his pen last night. You know what I mean? And just being like, oh, okay, so not every manager in the world believes on the road, tie game, can't use your closer.
You don't think Buck should be fired, do you?
No.
Okay,
no, I'm not a big Dan Duquette guy. I wouldn't mind seeing a different direction there, although it's not going to happen. No, I don't think Buck will be fired, but I do think that this changes the prism now. And, I mean, living in Baltimore all my life, Buck gets latitude that Harbaugh doesn't get. And Harbaugh won a Super Bowl.
That's true.
And, Buck has won one playoff series.
Uh-huh.
But I think that changes now, guys. I think people will be more prone to second-guess him, and I don't know that he's going to be cut such a wide swath by the fan base.
Okay. Well, that's your passion. Let's get to your professional expertise. Cam Newton, what do you know about Cam? Is he going to play?
I mean, he has not yet been cleared by an independent neurologist. Until or unless that happens, he's not going to play. With them playing on a Monday, that would generally be a visit that he would have on Friday. Usually if you're playing on Sunday, you would go see that doctor on Thursday, and they would let you know what you could do in practice the next day. To this point, he's done nothing, and Derek Anderson is getting all the reps. So, they're preparing as if it's probably will be Anderson, and if Cam gets cleared, then obviously that's a good problem to have. But they certainly can't bank on that. Everybody heals differently. Everybody's cognitive tests and their levels and their baselines are different. And for now, he is firmly in the concussion protocol.
Yeah, no, that's a dangerous situation for them. Hosting the Bucks, they're obviously at home, so maybe that's a little bit of an advantage. But if they start the season 1-4, I mean, do they recover?
I don't know. I think it's akin to last night. If you're sitting there at halftime of that game, 7-7, I mean, my thought was the Arizona Cardinals better play with an extreme urgency in the next 30 minutes or their season is pretty much over because they're not going to catch Seattle. And then you're talking about trying to scrap in as a wild card, having to go on the road somewhere, probably on the East Coast. That's not their recipe for getting to the promised land, and it's all about a Lombardi for them. Ditto for Carolina, right? Anything less than a Lombardi, people aren't going to be real happy. And, no, they cannot afford to keep dropping games, specifically within their division. I mean, that loss to Atlanta, I thought that would be the litmus test. I thought Carolina's not who we thought they were, but they're still the best team in that division. Now, I'm certainly not so sure. And if they were to couple that with a loss to what's been a fairly hapless Bucks team, then, yeah, you got problems.
Yeah. So to Jason La Canfora, CBS Sports NFL Insider. You see him on the NFL Today. You see him on Tops every Sunday. You read him on CBSSports.com. Listen, I know that there's marquee stories and headlines, whether Brady's return, of course, the quarterbacks get all the run, and Antonio Brown and the Steelers. But to me, they're still under the radar, and they shouldn't be. And that's the Raiders, who everybody knows they've won 3 of their first 4 games. What I think most people don't know is they're number 1 in red zone touchdown efficiency, Jason. Is this team legit? And I mean fully legit.
I picked them to go to the wild card. I feel at the quarter poll, I feel, pretty calm. A lot of my picks I don't like right now. I do like that one.
Yeah.
Derek Carr is the best young quarterback nobody ever talks about. Like, I find it kind of humorous. Like, even coming into the season, before Bridgewater got hurt, you know what I mean? There's just this, like, steady national sort of campaign of, this is Teddy's year and his time. And, I mean, that's 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, remember when Derek Carr versus Blake Bortles used to be a thing? How funny is that? I remember arguing with people in Jacksonville 2 years ago on Twitter, and them just saying, "Oh my God, you're a moron! Like, how could Carr possibly be as good as Bortles?" No, he's not as good as him. He's considerably better. Look, he's a very good quarterback. Crabtree has turned into one of the best red zone weapons in the league. It's not Cooper. It's Crabtree is the guy you got to worry about. Crabtree's the guy who got in the end zone 3 times against the Ravens. Crabtree's the guy who caught the jump ball lob in the back of the end zone, on the brass balls play for 2 in New Orleans. I mean, that's the guy. And they're running the ball about as good as anybody in the league. Now, Murray's a little banged up, but I like the construction of the offensive line, big and strong. Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin the last 2 weeks have started to look like themselves again. If they could get a Mario Edwards or somebody, if they get one other guy in that front 7 going, and I really like the kid Joseph, the first-round pick out of West Virginia, who's playing more each week. And nobody talks about Del Rio either. This guy's totally reinvented himself.
Oh, we talked about him it's kind of died a little bit the last week or so.
He's done a riverboat run. You know what I mean? He's turned into this player-friendly, like, go for the throat, new age kind of guy. Where in Jacksonville, his players pretty much hated him.
I got you. Fair. That's fair. That's true.
Yeah, Jason, to stay in that division with the Denver Broncos, and we all know the issue with Trevor Siemian's shoulder. Some people early in the season would say, it's just a matter of time before Paxton Lynch gets his shot. He looked pretty good in relief. Is there a budding quarterback issue, controversy, so to speak, up in Denver?
I think it's always been there. I think controversy is too strong of a word, but there has always been an undercurrent to their season that the ceiling on Lynch is so much higher, and that Siemian is a placeholder, whether it would have been for 1 week or 1 week or 3 weeks or 8 weeks. But at some point, he's going to have to continue to produce at a really high level in order for them not to get a look-see at what the other kid can do. And if you're just talking about size, speed, strength, velocity, ball placement. I mean, it was a different offense. I mean, when Lynch got in there, some of those seam routes, hitting receivers in stride. I mean, Siemian, look, all they need is functional with that defense and the run game and everything else, and how well they're coached. So Simeon's plenty functional. It's just a matter of, is there a point where they say, okay, if this is truly about winning a Lombardi, do we have to go with the kid, who can make more plays when we need them?
AJ, I want to get your thoughts on this quickly. It's Jason Lockenford with us here, usual Friday spot, Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio. I know you pretty much know everybody around the league, and it's kind of getting out there a little bit. I think it's going to pick up steam as the year goes on. The Vikings' new stadium, obviously it helps when you have an incredible defense, which they clearly do, and a great coaching staff, not just a head coach, but a great staff. But that venue appears to be top-notch and as big of an asset as we have in the NFL right now.
Yeah, it's raised the bar on these stadiums without a doubt. And I think what it's really done is the guy who got all the attention even before there were shovels in the ground, right, was Kroenke. And this is going to be the NFL's Taj Mahal. And they might move the NFL Network there. And they might have the Grammys there one year. And, this is going to be the mecca of all sports entertainment complexes. I mean, he better have a hell of a design to be better than this. Now, he's got the geography, he's got Hollywood, he's got the star power, and I'm sure that thing will be beautiful. But, yeah, when you talk to Vikings, people in that organization about it, their jaws just drop. And the teams that have been there are raving about it. And, all the glass and everything, it's pretty amazing.
But the advantage,
there's no doubt about it.
Jay, the advantage, to not just the aesthetics, but the home field advantage.
Yeah, those people seem to, it seems to be super loud. They seem to be right on top of you. That's what it's all about. And good for them. We're going to have a Super Bowl there in a couple of years, right? So as much as we'll be complaining about it's -5 degrees outside or whatever, on media day, that game itself, I'm sure it'll be a pretty cool game day experience.
You think they're still for real? You think they beat the Texans this weekend?
I do. I'm not a big Texans believer. So that, to me, you know what I mean? That's not like a high watermark kind of game as I'm looking at it. I think they pack that defense and go anywhere. The thing I was most, if I'm a Vikings fan, the thing I liked most coming out of that last game was the way they used McKinnon. And I think Norv Turner will continue to do that. You just get him out in space, use the screen to supplement the run game, open that up, and then you are able to run inside a little bit more. And you keep stretching that defense sideways to eventually hit them vertically. They don't have to run the ball all that well, but I think a more diverse, not just Adrian Peterson behind a fullback in the eye. I think they were very predictable that way. And when that guy's on the field and he's on your sideline, he's going to tend to have a lot of the offense run through him.
Yeah.
I think it's a little more open for Sam Bradford now. Rudolph got dinged up. That's huge. If they can keep Rudolph healthy, develop Treadwell along the way, Diggs is legit, then, that's with that defense, that's not bad.
Hey, JLC, BT played me a cut at the top of this hour with Ben McAdoo and how he's handling the Odell Beckham situation. And he's turning into Belichick in some ways, just deflecting and going on. We got the next game. We're talking about the next game. We're not addressing this Odell Beckham situation. Is that the right way to handle this kid?
Look, I think when I talked to a lot of people in that building this week, and the noise about this and the way this is sort of being viewed nationally is so different from how it's looked at in that locker room. He's got 4 fewer yards right now than he had at this time last year. Okay? He's only 10th in the league in targets. I don't know that he's got a first quarter catch the last 3 weeks. There's a lot of things going on there that are a problem beyond Odell Beckham getting upset at times in games. He's not a problem Monday through Saturday.
Yep, that's what Tiki said. Same exact take.
He is not divisive to that team. all the competitiveness that makes him the best wide receiver in NFL history the first 2+ years of his career is exactly the same sort of edge that will lead to these things happening. He has been talked to. He feels confident that he can get beyond this. Is he a little too sensitive? Yeah. Should he not have played the victim card this week? Yeah. And that was told to him, and if you saw what he said in front of his locker yesterday, he took it to heart. I mean, this is a good kid. He does a lot of things in the community. He's not a problem child. He has